Assalamualaikum dan salam sejahtera. This is an explanation video of assignment 1, article review, which is part of the requirements for the assessment literacy and performance competencies. Before we begin, let me start with some background information about the assignment. So this assignment constitutes 10% of the overall assessment scores, and it is a pair work assignment, which means that you can do it with another group member. However, should you wish to carry out this assignment individually, it should also be fine. Okay, and the content for this assignment is linked to topic for week 5, which is classroom assessment during pandemic, and it is related to the issue of high stakes assessment. All right. So this assignment is based on an article by Rimfeld, Malanchini, Plomin, which was published in the Conversation on March 27th, 2020. And the title of the article is Don't Worry About Cancelled Exams. Research shows we should switch to teacher assessment permanently. Now that's quite mouthful. It's a very long title. So in this article, the authors discuss or present the benefits of teacher assessment, and they were trying to convince the reader that teacher assessment is as reliable as examination scores. Okay, so before I start explaining about the questions that we have for this assignment, let me just provide a bit of context about what really is the background of this article. So, because of the pandemic, 1.58 billion students from 118 countries were out of classrooms due to school closure. Now, even though schools have reopened, but teaching and learning processes were shifted online. When modifications are made to teaching and learning processes, hence classroom assessments also need to be modified. One of the classroom assessments that were really affected by the pandemic is the high stake assessment. This is important examination taken by school students, and in the context of United Kingdom, it is the GCSE, or what we know as General Certificate of Secondary Education. Now, this is examination that is equivalent to SPM in Malaysia. So it's a very important assessment for the secondary school students in the United Kingdom. All right. And a lot of countries have coped differently with the way their high stake assessments were carried out. Some decided to continue with the high stakes assessments, but with more strengthened SOPs and precautionary measures. Countries such as Malaysia, Singapore, Thailand, Indonesia have opted to postpone our high stakes assessment. Some even cancelled their examinations. With other countries have decided to replace their exams with other forms of assessment, and also reduce the content assessed in the high stakes assessment. One of the countries that has decided to replace the score ataupun to replace the GCSE is the United Kingdom. And the Ofqual, or the Office of Qualifications and Examinations Regulations, a body in United Kingdom that is accountable in carrying out the GCSE, has announced a new ruling or decision that GCSE will not be carried out, and candidate scores will be replaced with teacher assessment grades instead, which means that there would be no GCSE examination, and the grade that students will be given to replace their GCSE score or basically the score that were assigned by their school teachers. Now, this has caused a lot of dissatisfactions among the stakeholders, particularly the students and the parents, because they are not convinced that teacher grades will be a reliable grade to replace GCSE scores, and also because there is a fear that teachers may not be objective and the grades assigned is the reflections of teacher biasness. All right, so that is the context of this article. And the article itself discusses about the reliability of teacher assessment scores in replacing GCSE grade. Okay, now this assignment should not be treated as only article review. It should also be viewed in relation to mini case study. The article that we have here should just provide a stimulus on the topic and the issue. But in order for you to have a better grasp of the issues at hand, you need to do additional reading. Read more articles related to this topic, particularly in relation to the cancellations of GCSE, the concerns that stakeholders have over teacher assessment grades. Also look for article that talks about biasness, about teacher assessment grade, as well as teacher assessment grade that will be replacing GCSE specifically. There's a lot of articles out there that address this particular issue. Please read more articles. The more you read, the better you will understand the issue at hand. The better will be the content that you are going to present in this assignment. Okay, so let's look at the questions. We have 3 questions that you need to complete in order to complete this article review assignment. So let's look at each of these questions in detail. The first question is, do you agree with the author's sentiment that teacher assessments are reliable alternative to GCSE grades? Provide 2 justifications to support your answer. Now, this is a questions that requires you to express your agreement. Either you agree or disagree. Okay, if you agree to these questions, that means that you believe that teacher assessment scores are a very good alternative to GCSE grades. If you are disagreeing to this statement, then you are saying that teacher assessment scores are not reliable alternative. They are not effective alternative to replace GCSE grades. And you need to provide 2 reasons to support why you agree or disagree. To qualify for 10 marks, of course, when we need to provide 2 justifications, it means that each justification accounts for 5 marks. Now, to qualify for full marks for this particular assignment, each justification should be presented in 1 paragraph with you stating the main point and supported by supporting details. In order for you to get full marks, you need to have at least 7 to 8 sentences for your supporting details. Remember that article review backs your critical thinking. In order to demonstrate how critical you are, having short paragraph may not be sufficient to accurately manifest the level of critical thinking that you have. So the more you write to support your arguments, the better. But at least have 7 to 8 sentences, because that would be sufficient to really showcase the gravity of your understanding of this issue at hand. Okay? All right, so let's move to the second question. Identify two issues and or concerns that the stakeholders have on the use of teacher assessments in replacing JCSE. In your opinion, are these concerns valid? You need to understand that there are two layers of response that you have to provide in your answer here. The first one is to identify the issues and concerns. And the second one is for you to validate or for you to evaluate whether these concerns are valid concerns or not. Okay, so for this to be identified, reading this article alone is not enough. This article provides sufficient context for question 1 and question 3. And very little information is presented in the article with regard to concerns that stakeholders have about off-course decisions. You need to have additional reading that relates to this particular issue to really nail the answer that you will be presenting for this question. Okay, so what you need to do is read additional articles that talk about parents or students' concerns on using teacher assessment score. Pick two issues or pick two concerns that these stakeholders have. Provide some information or elaborate a bit about these concerns. And then after you have done your elaboration, then provide your own opinion whether these concerns is valid or not. Okay, is it justified? Do these stakeholders have enough ground for them to have express or have such concerns? Okay, ke concern ini tidak berbaloi kerana macam tidak ada ground yang cukup kerana memang teacher assessment dah memang bagus katakanlah Alright, so make sure that your response for these questions covers the two layers that are presented in this question. Okay, now let's move on to the third question. Given the benefits of teacher assessments over exams, should examinations be abolished post-pandemic? Support your answer with two justifications. Okay, so because of the article, the authors are really into teacher assessment and they have demonstrated in the article how valid is teacher assessments and how accurate teacher assessments really are in predicting students' grades. And also in the article, the authors also talk about the benefits of teacher assessment over examination, particularly in these particular sections of the article. Okay, so given the pros that teacher assessment has, or given the advantages that teacher assessment has over examination, do you think teacher assessment should be used continuously in replacement of examination? So after the pandemic is over, when we got back to our real life, when teaching and learning processes resume as normal or maybe continuously to be hybrid, but post-pandemic, should we abolish examinations altogether? What do you think? Okay, so if you think that teacher assessment is really valid, we should abolish examinations. Give two reasons why you think exams should be abolished, or why do we need to stick to teacher assessment. If you believe that examinations is not dispensable, meaning that no other assessments, not even teacher assessment, can replace examination, hence examination should stay, then provide two justifications or provide two reasons to support your answer. Okay, And the length of this should be similar to the length of answers that you have for the first question. All right. So those are the 3 questions that make this assignment. Please remember that this assignment has a very short lifespan. You need to submit your article review assignment or report by or before December 5th, 2021. And the submission should be, make sure that it is in Microsoft Word format, not PDF, so that it eases the process of me marking and leaving my comments or feedback. And make sure that submission is made via Google Classroom. Now, should you have any questions, do drop your questions in our WhatsApp group, and don't DM me personally. Use the group that we have so that your friends will benefit from the answers that I provide to your questions. All right. Or maybe if you want to keep your questions and have a discussion with me next week during our synchronous lesson, that will also be another alternative. All right. So given the fact that this week's lesson is not online, it is offline, it gives you the time and the flexibility to start doing this assignment. All right, so that would be the end of my explanation video. I hope that the explanations and descriptions that I have provided for this assignment clarifies and help and assist you in moving forward, doing and completing this article review. So all the best. Till then, Assalamualaikum, salam sejahtera, and take care, people. I'll see you when I see you. Take care because I care.